Hey guys, today I want to talk family read alouds and share some of our favorites with you. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Chantel and today I'm doing a collab with Tiffany from The Happy Homeschooler, and we decided we wanted to talk about family read alouds and share some of our favorites. And we generally do quite a few read alouds in our home generally. In the last, how long has it been now? 8-9 months since we have been fostering our littlest girl, we've done almost none. Just because what we generally tend to do is we listen to audiobooks during meal times, and if you know, babies under the age of 1 sometimes can be really loud during that time. So we haven't got a whole lot done this last 9-ish months, but we're slowly picking back up and we've been doing it for years, so we have quite a few favorites. And I decided just to stick with books that we own that are our favorites, because otherwise I think this would have just gone on forever. So I think all but one of these we have listened to on audio. So we just have a Bluetooth speaker that we put on the table generally, or sometimes in the vehicle we'll listen, and that's generally how we do it, because I'm not that great at reading aloud, and this way we can eat our meal and listen to our audiobooks at the same time. So I'm just going to go in order of how I have them stacked here. This is absolutely no particular order, but let's just go into this. So this first one is actually pretty good for the season. This is The Witches by Roald Dahl. This is the exception to what I just said. This book I actually read out loud to my kids. I think it was 3 years ago in October. I read this book, and I don't normally read aloud, but Roald Dahl, I don't read chapter books aloud. I don't know, I think I read too fast generally, that it's hard for me to read aloud. I know it's something I should get better at, but I'm not there yet. So this one I found actually fairly easy to, and if you've read any Roald Dahl, you know his books are just weird. Like, they're funny, the kids love them. So on the back here, the little line that they chose to share on the back is, "1 child a week is 52 a year. Squish them and squiggle them and make them disappear." So this book is all about how, I guess there's a convention of witches, and witches are funny little creatures in here. They're not exactly what you think we're told that they are. And the introduction is a note about witches. It's really funny, actually. It talks about how a witch is always a woman. I think they're bald, but they wear wigs, and something about what was blue, like their spit is blue or something. And it's talking, right in the introduction, it talks about how, for all you know, a witch might be living next door to you right now, or she might be the woman with bright eyes who sat opposite to you on the bus this morning. She might even, and this will make you jump, she might even be your lovely school teacher who is reading these words to you at this very moment. Look carefully at your teacher. Perhaps she is smiling at the absurdity of such a suggestion. Don't let that put you off. It could be part of her cleverness. I'm not, of course, telling you for 1 second that your teacher is actually a witch. All I'm saying is that she might be one. It is most unlikely, but, and here comes the big but, it is not impossible. And then it talks about different ways that you know, or different things that you know, how you can tell a witch. Anyway, so I've heard that maybe some kids have been scared from this. My kids just thought it was hilarious. It was so over the top ridiculous. Yeah, so they really enjoyed this one. Next up, I almost forgot to put this one on here because we have a box set and somehow my eyes skimmed over it, but I'm so glad that I didn't skim over it. That is the line, The Witch and the Wardrobe. We have read this together a number of times, and my kids have read it on their own as well. This is, in my opinion, the start of the Chronicles of Narnia. I know number order, even though it was written later, number order, The Magician's Nephew comes first, but I would always recommend starting with this. So we follow Peter, Edmund, Susan, and Lucy, who go into a magical wardrobe, and they go into a land called Narnia, where it is always winter and never Christmas, and the White Witch has taken over. And yeah, we'll stop there. There are, 7 books in the series, I think. My personal favorite is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The Horse and His Boy, I like the last half of it, and yeah, I don't know, we've enjoyed this series. We just listened to it again at the beginning of the year. Next up is actually one I want to reread this year with my kids, and that is The Mysterious Benedict Society. So this one kind of like starts with an ad in the newspaper. There is an ad looking for, I guess, special children. I can't remember what the exact ad says. Let's see if it says here. Are you a gifted child looking for special opportunities? Yeah, so there are 4 kids that it follows that pass this test. They go to this place, they are put to the test, and they pass the test, and they end up forming what is called the Mysterious Benedict Society. This book is, I don't know if you would call it like a mystery book. I don't even know what kind of category it falls under. And I also don't know how much you can explain, because there is so much that is revealed later on. But our main character is a guy named Rennie Muldoon. He is an orphan. And then we have Kate, who always has a bucket with her, and she like has all her special things in a bucket that you might need when you're out and about. And then we've got Sticky, whose real name is George Washington, and then a girl named Constance, who is very short. And they form the Mysterious Benedict Society. This, I think there's 4 books in the series plus a prequel, so 5 books in the series. We only did, I think, books 1 and 2 together as a family, but I would like to do the entire series. Okay, and this next one is very much in the lines of Roald Dahl. If your kids like hilarious books, this one is really good on audio because it is read by the author, and this is Fortunately the Milk by Neil Gaiman. And I have to say, I have read a couple other Neil Gaiman books, and I have not liked them at all. This book is completely different than his other books. So it's all about a father who goes out one morning to get milk for his kid's cereal because there's no milk. And honestly, he gets sidetracked by talking to a friend. But when he gets home, he tells his kids the story of what really happened. And it is a ridiculous story of dinosaurs and pirates and hot air balloons and all sorts of crazy, ridiculous things. I bought the milk, said my father. I walked out of the corner shop and then heard a noise like this. Thump. I looked up and saw a huge silver disc hovering in the air above Marshall Road. Hello, I said to myself. That's not something you see every day. And then something odd happened. So, yeah, it's just a funny story of this dad made up, and the kids are like shooting holes in it throughout the story. But it's a funny read. Okay, on a much more serious note, we really like the entire Christian Heroes series, the ones that we've read so far. My personal favorite is still George Mueller. He started an orphanage for orphans in England, and a lot of the other books that we've read in this series people have kind of been inspired by him. Another one of my favorites is Lillian Trasher, and she sets up an orphanage in somewhere in northern Africa, and it was kind of like based off of George Mueller. And yeah, so they're just Christian missionary stories, and we always listen to them on audio as well. I feel like the narrators do a really good job with that. Nate Saint is another good one. Yeah, there's lots of good ones, but I would always recommend George Mueller if you haven't read any of them. Then a fun one we read last year is Book Scavenger. This is, I think, a 3-book series. I don't know if there's going to be more. We just listened to the first one on audio, which is often what we tend to do, because my hope is then if the kids get like interested in the series, they will continue the series on their own, either on audio or reading the physical books. So unless it's like an amazing series where I really want to know what's happening, we often only do the first book on audio. So this one is Book Scavenger, and they're in this world. I mean, it's not really a fantasy, but in this world there is a game called Book Scavenger, which is a website where you can give clues as to where you've hidden a book, and then you also read other people's clues and you can go find books. This is actually a real website, but I don't think it gets used very much, but it's too bad because it's such a great idea. So in this one we follow Emily, who has just moved to San Francisco, which is where the guy who created Book Scavenger lives, and she kind of like stumbles across a cipher and a mystery, and I guess this book ensues. And just, yeah, the entire time I was reading it, I was just thinking, man, I wish book scavenger was a real thing. And I guess it kind of is, but like not to the level that it is in the book, but this would just be like totally my cup of tea. Okay, and then a series we did listen to the entire thing because we all loved it so much is the Wing Feather Saga. If you have not read this together as a family, like put off all your other books, this is what you need to do. I would say this is probably for ages like 6 or 7 and up. Oh man, and I'm always so bad at explaining this. So this is a fantasy story where we follow siblings. We've got Janner, Tink, and Lily, and they live in a world where there are fangs. We have these newer editions. They were just published, I think, last year, and they have really cool illustrations throughout. So the fangs, they're pretty much like big crocodiles in some ways. Yeah, so their area has been overrun by fangs because the fangs are looking for something. They're following orders from this guy, and they're looking for something. Yeah, I don't know how much to go into this. One of the unique things that Andrew Peterson has done, like any really good fantasy author, is he creates a lot of unique animals. So one of the things that you never want to come across in the forest is this. This is a toothy cow, and I like it when authors create creatures, but when they can take something as like lame as a cow and turn it into this like ferocious, scary beast, that just makes it so much better in my mind. And then we did listen to the audio, but one of the benefits of the physical book is there are like so many different little footnotes that are seriously unnecessary but add so much to the book. Oh, and it just so happens I turned to this page. Okay, so it's talking about the fangs had taken every weapon in the land, every sword and shield, every bow and arrow, every dagger and spear, every farm tool that could be used as a weapon was locked away and guarded. And then there's a footnote. In order for Podo, that's the grandpa in the story, to hoe the garden, he had to fill out the permission to hoe garden form, then the permission to use hoe form to borrow the hoe. If the tool wasn't returned by sundown, the penalty was much too severe to be mentioned in this happy part of the story. See page 281 for the actual forms. So there's the addendum to the permission to hoe a garden form, permission to use hoe. Please check all that apply. I would like to use a hoe. I love all this thought put into it. Oh, here's the actual permission to hoe garden form. I, Podo Helmer, request permission to hoe a garden. By signing this form, I also acknowledge the superiority of the Fangs of Dang, both general and specific, generally over all mankind, specifically over me, Podo Helmer. And when I say superiority, I mean drastic superiority, like in the way a bomb nubble is superior to a meep, which is to say that I, Podo Helmer, would represent the meep, and the distinguished Fangs of Dang would represent the mighty bomb nubble, which is drastically superior to the meep. Date of use, hour of request for permission, signed by... This is just an extra level of thought and like craft. Like this book is just crafted so well. Highly recommend the entire series, and you might be tearing up at the end. Just a fair warning. Okay, and then a series that we listened to, it's been quite a while, and I feel like it's maybe almost time to reread this as well, is the entire Little House series. Actually, I don't know if we went all the way to the end. I don't even remember, but definitely like the first 5 books. I just pulled out Little House on the Prairie here. So we follow Laura, and this is like kind of like the true story of her family's journey to... Eventually they went out west a little bit, but it's just their life journey. They started out in the woods of Wisconsin. We follow a little bit of her husband when he was a farmer. I don't remember where he lived. And then they go out to Kansas, and I don't even know where they all go. But Laura Ingalls has like taken a bit of creative license with her life. It was actually a lot harder in real life than she writes about. And from what I've read, some things were just too hard for her to write about, and I mean, that's fair enough. So she glosses over a few things, but it doesn't feel like it. in one of the books, I don't remember if it was this one specifically, but I remember the dad, he's like going, I think he goes out Christmas Eve and he's like coming back with the presents, and there's a snowstorm. He ends up having to like dig a hole in the snow, and he eats a couple of the Christmas crackers because he's out all night, and it's just like mind-blowing. And then the things they get for Christmas are like an orange, and they're so over the top excited. And yeah, it really, I feel like it puts how much we have into perspective. Yeah, so we liked this series. And then I have one last book, and this one also made me tear up. This is Sweep, the story of a girl and her monster. So this is a historical, it's mostly a fantasy book, but our main character is a chimney sweep. So there are some historical elements. There's actually a fair amount of information about chimney sweeps in here. But in our story, this girl, she has a monster friend from coal, and it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. She takes us on her life as a chimney sweep and how hard it is. And she was originally cared for by this man called the Sweep, and he disappeared. And when he disappeared, she got this coal friend. And yeah, I don't know. I read it myself last year, and then we listened to it as a family, and I feel like I already want to reread it. It was so powerful. It's like funny and yet heartbreaking at the same time. So highly recommend this one as well. I mean, all of them. They're obviously on our stack, our list of favorite family read alouds. So read all of these. And then there you go. That is the list for today. There are a few more that would have made it on here if we owned the physical copies, but those are some of our favorite family read alouds. And now I would love for you to tell me some of your favorite family read alouds, because like I said, we're getting back into reading aloud. We're actually listening, right now we're listening to The Wingfeather Tales, which is kind of outside of the 4-book series, and it's just takes place in this world, and we're enjoying that. And then after that, I'm not 100% sure where we're going to be going for family read alouds, so give us all your favorite recommendations. And thanks for watching, guys.